Hello, my name is Kostas and I work as the technical artist teacher at the Game Assembly in Malmö, Sweden. This video is a part of a series of videos called Getting Started with ShaderFX for Maya. And in this video, I'll show you how to create a bare minimum shader and also how to save custom groups in ShaderFX. So I've just created a polygon sphere and assigned a new ShaderFX shader to the sphere. I'll open ShaderFX. And the bare minimum shader, as I mentioned, is if you want to start from scratch. That is, we do not want to use this, but rather create everything from scratch. So the first thing I'd want to do is select these and hit delete. To be able to do that, you need to be in the advanced mode. If I wasn't in advanced mode and I hit delete, it'll only delete that color input. It won't delete these. So what I do then is I go to advanced mode and I delete those. So the bare minimum, what I mean by that is just the very few essential nodes you need to be able to just display color at all on your object. And those nodes are hardware shader is the very rightmost, the one shader that you end with. And actually just based on placing that one, if that's the one you need to remember the name of specifically. If you just work your way from here, you'll see that the required one here is the red one. And that one actually has the name of the next node you're going to need. So I need a technique node. As I mentioned, the red indicates the required node. Same thing here, I need passes, and passes as in multiple passes. You see that just as it techniques, it actually accepts multiple nodes since it's a square and not a round connector. So I'll need the pass node, at least one of them. And then on the pass node, you see it flags the entire node red since it needs two inputs here, the vertex shader and the pixel shader. So when it comes to the vertex shader, it's much more easy for you to just go with the vertex shader group. There is a vertex shader, but if you check the vertex shader group, it has a lot of other logic which can be useful. That's already pre-made for you, so I'll just stick to using that one. I'll add that to the vertex shader, and then I'll go with pixel for my pixel shader, secondary required one here. Right. So this would be the bare minimum that you need to show color on an object. You could argue that probably if you go inside this one here, you might be able to get rid of a few of these if you really were needed just the bare minimum. I haven't actually tried that. I usually just go for this one. Guess out of pure laziness or efficiency, if you will. So at this point, I can now start inputting color in the pixel color here. So if I had a look now and I hit 6 on my keyboard for hardware texturing, you'll see that it just turns black. But if I go ahead and connect, say, a vector construct to build a vector, and I plug that in here, and let's try a color node as well, just to showcase that this should work. If I now select this color node, you see it's already gray as my color node. I can go ahead and just shift that to another color just to show you. And keep in mind, it's only just the color now. There's no lighting, no specular, no normal maps, nothing of that. I'd have to build support here. That traditional game surface shader node that we had initially deleted, that's like tons of nodes and stuff going on there already. You can go like 6 or 7 hierarchical group levels down, like delving into the matrix, if you will. So this here, compared to the traditional game surface shader, this is minuscule. It's just a very few nodes, whereas the other one was several times the amount of the nodes and code and logic and whatnot. Either way, I often revert to using this when I just want to remove all other functionality and just try something very specific, like a proof of concept or try effect or something. And I don't want to bother with all the other parts that come with the traditional game surface shader or another large complex shader. So the plan now is that we're going to create a group for this one, and eventually we'll store that group in these available nodes since we want to be reusing it a lot. And before we do that, I'd argue that there are probably 2 more parameters that you might want to be able to access. So pixel color is the most important one, obviously, to set the color. But the object vertex position is also useful. That is, if you want to use a vertex shader effect, say that you want to modify the position of the sphere with a animated sinus curve or something like that. This is the input you use. So we want that available as an input to our group. I would also argue that maybe you might want to be able to change the number of lights as well. That is, depending on your GPU and your hardware limitations or rendering engine limitations, you can only render so many lights at any given time. And you can actually set this number yourself here. Not sure how it defaults if you don't set it. I don't think it works at all. You need to set a number here. If you don't, it's not gonna accept the lights you place in Maya. So in order to be able to set this one, you see that it accepts an int, an integer, and it needs to be the int value because there's a v here. So I'll start with typing int value. So that would be the node that you can use to be able to set the amount of lights you want to have affecting your object. And let's say we go for a number of 4 as our default, for instance. And for this one, you do this. Now, the reason I actually added this one and connected this one is because I want to show 2 different approaches of creating a group. At this point, it's these objects I want to use to create my group. And if I select them and go to the group menu and hit create group, you'll see that I already get these 3 inputs. I got them for free since I had connecting nodes there already. If I didn't have them connected, if I hit Control Z and I just go ahead and delete all of these connections, and then I create my group, I wouldn't get those inputs. I can still add them once I go inside the group, but you get them for free if they're already connected. Same goes for output from the group. So definitely a viable way of being more efficient about it might be that you construct your large shader network, and then after you've added the logic or functionality, you select the nodes that you want to group and then group them. And then any connections going into that group or out will already be connected. You don't need to worry about them. But at this point, I think I'll just add them manually to show you how you do that. So first, I'd want to settle on which of these 3 parameters do I want to have as my first input. And I'd argue that pixel color is probably the one I want to have first, since that's the most important. Next, I'd probably grab this one. And thirdly, I'd grab the number of lights. Notice how they get different names here as well. So this one is inheriting the pixel color name. This one is just reverting to XYZ. And this one is accepting or inheriting the number of lights. So if you want to change these around, you can click the specific input here, so it highlights them, and then you change in the active socket label. So I want to change this one XYZ as it won't really describe what's going on. So I will, in the active socket label, I have this one selected. I will type object vertex position and hit enter. You see that it will update here. Now, there's one more thing I might want to do here actually, and that is, remember how I said that if you do not input anything at all here, it would not accept any lights. Now, I could handle the case where if the user places this node and they forget to input anything here or they don't connect anything, I wouldn't have any lights working, right? There's a way where you can set a default value so that it has a default value if the user doesn't input anything. And that is just called default value. So if I place a default value and I grab an int value node again, I can go ahead and set this as my default and set that to 4, for instance. So odd that there's 2 input sliders here since it's just a int value. Curious if there's any difference. Oh, right. So if I select this one, I check the attribute editor, it only shows 1 value. Oh, there's something else here. Not sure what that represents, to be honest. But it seems to be the first column that you want to input this, and it seems to, yeah, probably confirm it by just checking this value here. If I set this one to 5, no idea what that does, to be honest. Anyway, now I have a default value, and now I could grab once again from here and put that in the alternate value. What that is going to do, just to reiterate, is if the user does not input anything to the group, it's going to choose this value. If the user does input anything here, it's going to use the user's input and not the default one. So the thing we gain by doing this is we'll always have a number feeding in here, regardless if the user actually inputs anything or not. So we will always have lights working in that sense. But now, since I grabbed the new input and pulled it to alternate, I now have the name alternate here, and that doesn't really help us. So I'll have to choose this one and click this one, go to the active socket label and call this one number of lights, like so. So if I just hit exit group and I review this is fine, except for one thing, I'd argue. It just says node up here. You can actually label your group as well, either from outside here and changing this name, or from within the group. If you left click the entire group here, you can change it up here as well. So I could call this one base shader, for instance, or bare minimum, or whatever you prefer. Now it says base shader. So this seems fine. We can still just try the functionality if we're unsure if it still works by connecting this again. Let's see. No, I need the float 4 to the pixel color. Yes, that seems to work. And I could connect this one as well and try it with lights, but we're not handling lights now, so I couldn't really confirm it without adding logic to have lighting work. Either way, the next step is, now that we're happy with this group, we want to save it to have it available here in the list of nodes and groups and whatnot, since I know I will be using this a lot. To be able to do that, you can select the group, and there's an option called Save Group to Disk. Or if I try clicking this now, it won't accept my group. I'll show you. It says, please set the group name, category, and sub-menu properties before saving. What that actually means is I go inside the group, I click here, and I need to set these 3 values. Notice how if I hit it says please set the group name, and there's no group name in here. It's actually referring to the class name property. The category is category name, and submenu is the submenu name. So class name, that is going to be the name similar to, say, the geometry shader here. So here I type base, and in this parameter, I can actually have spaces as opposed to the name. So I could call this one space base shader. Category name is this type of category where it says hardware shader nodes or HW shader nodes. The submenu name is equivalent to the code control. So either if you want to keep it within this big group already, or just create your own. And I usually just tend to go for my own, so I can more easily collapse this one and I can find my own values. And you can see that I've already tried adding this one before, actually. Shader base in that case, this one time base shader to distinguish it. So if I add this one to Kostas, and I could add core here, for instance. So now I've filled in these 3 values. It should now accept if I hit save to disk, save group to disk. You need to select the node before hitting the command, or if you're inside the group, you can click here, which is equivalent to selecting the group. And then you go save group to disk. So this means it actually successfully added it to disk. If I scroll down, I can see that I've actually got that one since before as well, but my base shader is now here, base shader. I can drag that one out here and as many as I like. If you notice, when I added the shader to disk, there's a warning saying a group node is being saved without an OSL code container. I've actually never used the OSL code container functionality. I think it's open shading language. It's something I think Sony created to be able to create shaders for Arnold. I've never tried this, but to me it sounds like I should be able to use these shaders for Arnold if I use the OSL code container. And I've only ever seen those, never tried using them. I think it's the custom code node that you use here, and you type the OSL equivalent shading code. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. So that should be it. To recap, this is like the bare minimum of nodes you need to display color. We've created a group. We've properly renamed and exposed the parameters we want available as inputs, and you could do the same for outputs as well. And we also saved this one to our existing list of nodes by setting up these names and then hitting save group to disk. So that should be it. Thanks.